Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax. I haven't done one of these in several months, so I asked for your questions on like YouTube, Instagram, all of these places. So some of these questions are very humbling, just so you're aware. But we're going to answer some of these questions and talk about life, and I'll give you a bit of an update on how my life is going, which is insane, by the way. If you wanted to know the short answer, it's insane. The first question, and it's very humbling. Do I have a boyfriend? No. Currently, in 2025, August, I am single. Am I talking to anybody? Nope. Is anything happening? No. Humbling, like I said. Okay. The next few are kind of like, are you guys okay? Like, I'm worried about the gays. Can queer people ever be free under capitalism? Okay, so I studied like queer ideology a little bit in school when I was doing my degree, and there are some very, very theoretical ideas about queer identity and its relation to capitalism, and by extension, like communism and political systems and things like that. So I'm guessing that this person has also studied queer theory and ideology. And in all honesty, like that whole theory is kind of interesting. Like it's quite an interesting idea. If you don't know, you can like research it later. But essentially, the basic idea of this like queer ideology is that our capitalist model has set up these hierarchies and structures and these norms that actively fight queer identity, us being able to be who we want to be, and all this other stuff. And so when you ask, can queer people ever be free under capitalism? Queer people are free. And I know some of you might not feel like that, but if you live in a Western democracy where gay marriage is enshrined in our laws, you know, regardless of the threats of losing it and all this other stuff, we have the right to be who we want to be, to walk down the street with the person we love, to get married, to have the legal protections that are enshrined in our constitutions. We are as free as anyone else in society. Do we face discrimination and all kinds of prejudice? Yes, absolutely. Of course we do. But the idea that queer people cannot be free under a capitalist model, queer people are not free under communist models. You know, you can look at contemporary communist governments around the world. Queer people are not free. I hate to break it to you, but most communist countries do not endorse LGBT rights or the advancement of any of that kind of civil rights. So I feel pretty free. Don't know about you. So sorry to have answered that question in that way, but next is it queer-phobic to feel uncomfortable with the acceptance of nudity within LGBTQIA spaces? Again, you're tackling the really heavy questions. I'm going to try and blitz through this. Apologies if my answer is not to your standards. But I do not think it is queer-phobic to dislike nudity in LGBTQIA spaces. I have always found it a little bit, I've always had a bit of an aversion to you know, the adult pride parades where, you know, there is very little clothing. There is a lot of explicit or implicit like sexual innuendos and things like that. I'm not somebody who likes going out in public with my shirt off. And so the idea of like taking even more off is just a no for me. It's not queer-phobic at all. Being LGBTQIA does not mean that you have to be explicitly sexual. Like, we as a group are sexualized in a huge amount of ways, and there's a lot of difficulty with that. But just because you don't like nudity, that doesn't make you queer-phobic. Like, you're not specifically targeting that. So no, not at all. And I definitely resonate with the idea of feeling ostracized for not wanting to go out in public and stuff. Next one, how gay was I as a kid? Not at all. I came out at 20, 21, something like that. And I was like a little farm kid. I was obsessed with trains and tractors. I had a dirt bike. I had a pellet gun. I would hang out with my friends. I played soccer. I guess the one thing that I did that's like considered, you know, somewhat is I was in gymnastics, but it was because I was just bouncing off the walls, and my parents were like, we need a sport that'll just exhaust him. And gymnastics was like a really good way to do that. But I didn't wear pink. I only have brothers, so we didn't have dolls in the house. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff, and I was never drawn to it. I'm very much like a hands-on, like working with wood, playing with swords and sticks and all that stuff. So, no. Who was my first gay crush? I don't know. This was like years ago. Probably someone like Shawn Mendes, in all honesty, was probably the first person that I looked at and was like, that's not bad. Okay. Sorry, some of these questions I cannot answer on here. What is something I most look forward to doing in the near future? Having kids. I really want to have kids. I want to have a family. I'm really looking forward to that, and that's what I want to do. So that's what I'm looking for most forward in the future. What do you think about the non-binary thing? Okay, so the idea that somebody is not male or female, that they are somehow non-binary, they do not conform to the gender expectations. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this. Like, I just think if someone wants to be like that, then that is absolutely fine. Like, it really has nothing to do with me. So in order to respect somebody's preference and who they feel they are, I don't think that's that hard. Just like I don't think it's hard to not be a prejudiced jerk to somebody who's gay. So I think as a gay person, I really just think that they should do their thing, and that's what they're gonna do. If you had to describe yourself using a video game, which one would you pick and why? I don't know. Like, a lot of my life is kind of Stardew Valley. Like, I live on a farm, and it's like a lot of it is quite wholesome. Probably with a mix of like Fallout or Skyrim or something with some like drama. But yeah, probably like Stardew Valley, something like that. Any trips coming up? Yes, I'm going off to Vancouver. Actually, when you're watching this, I will be in Vancouver, and then I'm off to France after that. So I'm really looking forward to that. Another, do you have a boyfriend? No, I am single, I fear. What is something you've learned about yourself in the past year? What makes you laugh uncontrollably? Okay, so something I've learned in the past year is that, and I think it's like very humbling, like I said, but your life doesn't progress like this, you know? Sometimes you will be on the up and you'll be improving, you're eating well, you're exercising, you're gaining muscle, you're looking good, you're becoming smarter, you know, you're learning languages, whatever it is. But what I've learned is that your life kind of does this, like it's this, hopefully like it tilts upwards, but it's this constant flow of like ups and downs, and sometimes, you know, sometimes things just don't work out, and I think I've learned to be okay with that and to accept that, which is really hard because I'm a perfectionist and I try to strive to make everything perfect. What makes me laugh uncontrollably? YouTube shorts and Instagram reels. I don't know, like my algorithm is so fine-tuned that I will have videos that I'm just on the floor laughing. I'm like, they're the dumbest like cat videos and people doing dumb things, but I will just be on the floor howling, and it makes me laugh uncontrollably. You might have been asked this before, but would you be in a long distance relationship? Absolutely. I think I've answered this question almost every time, but that's totally fine. I have no problem with a long distance relationship as long as there is a plan to live together at some point. That's my answer. At what point would you consider a relationship out of the honeymoon phase? I think I have an interesting take on this. This will be the last question, by the way. But I truly believe that the honeymoon phase ends when both people feel that it's ended. My grandparents have been married for 65 years this year, And I asked them about the honeymoon phase, and they said, and like they've been together forever, and they honestly told me, each of them individually, they weren't in the same room when I asked this question, but they both said that they have felt like they have been in the honeymoon phase their whole lives. They've just been absolutely enamored by each other. They love each other so much, and they just feel that. I've talked to other couples that haven't felt that they were like, oh, well, the first year, you know, before we had kids or whatever. But I think the honeymoon phase really can depend on the couple. I think ideally your honeymoon phase never ends. You just always are discovering new things and you love your partner, and you know, that's just awesome. But that's my take. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for submitting questions. I hope this shed some light on my life. And please feel free to leave more questions down below, because the next video I do of this will be from here. So ask away, and I hope I answered everything that I could possibly answer. Thank you so much. And as always, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.